What's going on, people? Myke C-Town here with another episode of Out of My Element, where you guys get to pick the albums that I review. If you want to become part of that process of suggesting albums for me to review in this video series, make sure you become one of my patrons. You can click the link down there. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month. But yeah, the winner of this month's poll is Lil Ugly Mane's Third Side of Tape. Lil Ugly Mane is a Virginia rapper and producer, real name Travis Miller. I remember when Mr. Thug Isolation dropped a while ago, and I heard a few songs and it didn't interest me a single bit. It sounded like someone was joking around, and you know, more times than not, music like that just does not pull me in. He sounded like he was a part of that current like internet cloud rap wave, and that shit just went right the fuck over my head. Then I heard that he was in the black metal band, and I checked out that project out of curiosity. I actually thought it was pretty decent, much better than any of the hip hop stuff that I'd heard from him. So I wasn't exactly excited to check this project out, but I was slightly interested. So yeah, when I started it off, the first beat on this was actually pretty dope. The drums were nice, the sample goes really well with it. It's rather relaxing. You know, it reminded me a bit of like some Flying Lotus with the instrumentation that he was using. I liked the way that it moved into the more abstract beat where it sounded like there was like construction or something happening. There was glass breaking. There was some sort of warped voice. But yeah, with the first two kind of movements here, I was kind of digging it. The next beat is a more abstract kind of trap beat that actually worked really well. I like the fuzzed out synths here, the heavy bass, but the rapping is horrible. My cute kitties with the big fluffy tails. Oh, I love my kitty cat. Can't seem to find him though. Big, fat, and white with a spot on his back end though. See, clearly this is that trolling shit. That shit that I don't like. You know, the lyrics here are just goofy. The whole song is about his cat and how he can't find the cat. Not only are the lyrics dumb, the way he lays them out is really bad. Like, it sounds incredibly amateur. I don't know if this is just a really old song or, like I said, he's just trolling. Either way, I think it's whack. And the way it moves into the next section of the song makes me feel like this is almost like if Tyler the Creator did an album but he was a really bad rapper. And typically I feel mean for saying that someone was a bad rapper. I try not to do that so much anymore, but I think it's obvious that he's rapping like this on purpose. There's no way that I believe that he actually thinks he's rapping well. But he can definitely produce well. You know, the beats are all pretty cool. He's definitely able to combine a lot of different elements here in a really cool way. You have touches of classic boom bap, some jazzy flavors here, some EDM, even some post-punk leanings in there, and the way he combines them is really creative. Like, you can almost visualize some mastermind behind the boards putting this stuff together. A lot of the transitions, though, can be really jarring. Like the one on side 1B that goes from this kind of rambunctious beat to this kind of country folk type song. Or when it goes from that fairly standard hip hop beat to that really dancey one. That's kind of what takes me out of the project. The transitions are not smooth, and it sounds like a big ass mess. Like he didn't give a shit about cohesiveness or flow here. And again, it's obvious that he's doing this intentionally. You know, what I'm saying here is no big revelation. It sounds like he either wants to keep the listener on their toes by throwing them whatever random sound he feels like throwing at them, or he's trolling or thinks that this is funny or something to produce this type of mashup. And I don't mean funny, haha. I mean funny as in like, let me see what people will get from this. Let me see the type of reactions I'm gonna get from people if I do shit this way. Like on side 2A, he knew that the mix from that kinda like upbeat dancey beat to the punk rock song, he knew that that wasn't gonna work very well at all. He knew it didn't flow. But it was cool that around here is when we get a glimpse of a much more interesting rap style. But then he jumps to a more old school type flow for the latter part of the song, which was neat, I guess. But then he jumps into this wild, all over the place instrumental for about 35 seconds, and then he's on to something else. There was even a moment where he threw in some black metal into the mix, and I've said how I feel about that type of thing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. But I won't get into that. But it is at this point in the project that I was just over it. You know, I just put it on in the background while I worked, and it just became background noise. Because while the beats were cool and interesting, they weren't compelling enough to demand my attention for this project's 2-hour plus lifespan. And I like sound mashups. I like sound collages, you know? One of my favorite musicians is Steven Stapleton of Nurse with Wound, where he'll mix up all kinds of weird sounds into this dark mass that's simultaneously uncomfortable and relaxing to listen to. But this, nah, man, I don't get any enjoyment from listening to this. The hip hop beats are all pretty cool. The post-punk, the noise rock instrumentals, they're cool as well. However, none of them were amazing, with the exception of the beginning of side 3A. That weird industrial drone piece was actually really dope. Like, I wish he'd do more shit like that on their own project, you know? But outside of that, the other beats and elements here were all just cool. You know, nothing amazing to freak out over. They were all decent enough on their own, but they weren't great enough for me to anticipate what was going to happen next on this project. But mixing them all together doesn't work for me in the slightest bit. It's a terrible gumbo made from tasty elements. You know, it's like if you mixed peanut butter, strawberries, okra, and like barbecue sauce together. You know, I like all of those ingredients separately, but putting them in the same dish is vomit inducing. And that's what I got from this. It's uncomfortable to listen to, but not in the way that I typically enjoy. I didn't get any passion from this. I didn't get any soul from this. I got weird for weird's sake, and that's absolutely not my thing. You know, it's clearly not about picking apart the individual elements of this album. It's more about him just taking the listener on a journey of all of the different things that he's interested in musically in a very schizophrenic kind of way. Now, if you like this project, that's fantastic. I think it's neat if you dig the way that this is put together and you draw some sort of enjoyment or inspiration from the all over the place feel of this project. But for me, I found it to be rather boring. And this was largely due to it being so random with its movements from one sound to the next. Like, it wasn't surprising anymore after a while. It just became like, oh, I know after this kind of chill beat, he's gonna throw this really weird thing in here. And if the beats and instrumentals were just amazing, then I would have more of an element of excitement at what was coming next, the way I do with like a Flying Lotus album, or even with those old LP mixtapes, those We're All Gonna Burn in Hell mega mixes. But I don't think the individual elements of this project were good enough to make the sum of its parts super enjoyable for me. But yeah, that's my take. My personal take that you guys asked for, so don't get all pissed off. See, with something like this that I don't love, but I also don't hate, I don't have a whole lot of stuff to say about it. So yeah, that's really all I got here. I didn't enjoy it. I will not be returning to it. I don't think the dude is trash or anything. I just think that projects like this, they're not compelling or interesting to me. So anyway, yeah, the next poll for you guys to vote on is down there in the comment section. Make sure you guys check that out. And as usual, thank you for living, thank you for loving, thank you for being you. And I'll see you guys next time. All right, peace out, boy.